So we're gonna be going live, man. We got an interesting discussion tonight. Sometimes, man, I don't be having so many different topics I want to hit up on. I don't be knowing which one to actually do. So, and this is coming straight off the website. It's matter of fact, the actual title of the actual article. One of our curation partners, the San Francisco Observer, actually, this is one of their articles, and they have it titled "Is White Christianity Killing Black People?" Theologians speak. So I want to go ahead and I want to touch up on that topic tonight. And I was like, well, let me go ahead and let me go ahead and get this discussion in here tonight myself as well too. I might be in the matrix, guys. Can you guys hear me? Because it looks like it's trying to put me in the matrix on here. Give me 1 second. Let me see. I might be in the doggone matrix. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. This DJ right here, but I'm actually about to restart my phone. I want real talk. I'll be right back.
Okay, well, go ahead, man. I like I said, I see I was having some issues as well too. So, Professor, I'm gonna send you the co-host invite because just in case, because I'm having some it seemed like I keep having some issues too. Like I done froze up a couple times myself. Shout out to my people over there on YouTube. The name of the topic tonight, what's up with you, Nightfall, is White Christianity Destroying Black Americans. Like I say, this article is up in the description. I got to find this article and put it in the Jumbotron for my people over here on YouTube. Shout out to everybody. What's up, MF Kush? I see you down there, Mr. Finn. What's up with you as well too? I want to go ahead. Shout out to Cognitive also for the cash. Yeah, I appreciate that, Cognitive. Let me go ahead and Cognitive undip, but I want to go ahead and still shout him out as well too. Professor, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, Professor, and our people, they can come in. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna touch up on this article right now. Y'all definitely, for those in the space, go ahead and give it a retweet. Same for my people on YouTube, guys. Definitely go ahead and share tonight's broadcast. Make sure you like it, share, comment, all that good stuff. This is from the Sacramento Observer. It says, "Is Christianity killing Black people?" Theologians speak. During U.S. Congressman Al Green's Slavery Remembrance Day legislative update held last year, James Dixon, pastor of Community of Faith Church and president of the NAACP Houston branch, shared a word about the connection between the crime against humanity known as the enslavement of African people and the faith theology of those who did the enslaving, human trafficking, kidnapping, torture, rape, and murder, profiting off of stolen labor. Dixon says slavery expressed the grave indecency of people, and many had Bibles in their hands. I'll never be impressed with a man with a Bible and a whip, because if you can whip me with one hand, with the Bible in the other hand, you don't represent the God that I serve. Dixon didn't stop there. And where are the Bible-toting, scripture-quoting preachers today in the face of HISD being taken over, in the face of the fact that we don't have a Voting Rights Act, in the face of the fact that our schools are without libraries? Dixon also said that because of these past and present sins conducted under the guise of faith, America owes God an apology. What Dixon was doing essentially was calling out practitioners of what some Black religious scholars and others call white Christianity. And though there is a chorus of Christians who claim that faith is universal and has no color or racial dividing lines, an army of scholars and preachers beg to differ. Critics of white Christianity agree that not all whites practice the brand of faith, but rather those who believe consciously or unconsciously in the myth of white supremacy and the reality of white nationalism. Two things Reverend Andrew Sager says are deeply intertwined with the Christian culture. The phrase white Christian nationalism is often used to describe a particular demographic and political movement in the United States that is primarily composed of white Christians who believe that the United States should maintain its cultural, racial, and religious identity as white Christian nation, says Segers. White Christianity has a long, well-documented connection to violent and oppressive acts against humanity. The foundational ideologies of white Christianity, white nationalism, and the myth of white supremacy have been and are frequently used to justify violent, racist, and discriminatory tactics against Black people, Native Americans, and other oppressed communities, added Segers. White supremacy and white nationalism, and thus white Christianity are toxic ideologies that should be rejected and condemned by all Christians. Yale University Phillips Gorski argues that white Christian nationalism, his term for the white Christianity, was the theology that inspired many who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. In his book, The Flag and Cross, White Christian Nationalism and a Threat to American Democracy, he argues that white Christian nationalism inspired many who attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6, and it contains these foundational elements. Number one, the belief and the myth that America was founded as a Christian nation by white Christians and that its laws and institutions are based on Protestant Christianity. Number two, America is divinely favored and has been given the mission to spread religion, freedom, and civilization. Number three, this mission and its values are under threat from the growing presence of non-whites, non-Christians, i.e. Christians and others who don't espouse white Christian nationalism, and immigrants. Number four, those posing this threat have corrupted and stolen America, and white Christian nationalists have to take it back. Number five, critics of this white Christianity contend that the religion's beliefs have been foundational to America's way of life. For centuries, they argue that white Christianity is a form of Christianity that centers whiteness by defining God, Jesus, the Hebrews, the angels, etc. as white, and all things evil as black. During slavery, Master was viewed as God's representative on earth. Enslaved blacks were divinely required to be obedient to their masters. The only way for enslaved to enter heaven's gates was to accept their enslavement, and to fight against it was to fight against God's will. Number six, thus black people's effort to fight for equality from those seeking to end slavery centuries ago to black people today fighting for voting rights, criminal justice reform, and equal access to healthcare, educational resources have been viewed by believers in this white Christianity as evil, wrong, misguided, and or unchristian. Dr. Earl Fisher, pastor of the Blackest Church in Memphis and the community activist leader, said, white Christianity has been more concerned with whiteness and political power than it has been with humanity. To that end, it has and continues to intend death and destruction to blackness and everything that stands in contradiction to whiteness, including divinity itself. White Christianity has been killing black people since, at the very least, Constantine and the Roman Empire imperialized religion centuries ago. Award-winning author and minister Belma Mia Thomas put it another way: anytime your savior is your oppressor, you are in trouble. Both Fisher and Thomas contend that white Christianity ordained the enslavement of African people, promoted and pushed Eurocentric religious beliefs, championed white domestic terrorism, preached segregation, fought against civil rights, voting rights, integration, etc., and ignored the Supreme Court Brown versus Board ruling that ended segregation in public schools and created segregated academies, churches that built adjacent buildings with classrooms so white children wouldn't have to attend school with black children. White supremacy is a global system that has corrupted every facet of modern human existence, said Houston's own Dr. Abdul Robert Muhammad, a student minister of Muhammad Mass 45. Within the confines of this demonic mindset, nearly every religious, educational, economic, and political system has been used as a tool of oppression and exploitation rather than pathways to equitable advancement for the entire human family. Here's a list of things to do to create and practice a form of Christianity that they say. Number one, recognize the importance of the spiritual teaching, man, woman, know thyself, which speaks to the importance of knowing one's history. Number two, make geography and history an integral part of Christian education. Doing so will reveal the vast majority of the Bible story took place in Africa during a time when different black nations were interacting with one another in both positive and negative ways. Number three, don't be afraid to explore and reconnect with African roots and influence faith systems like Mayat out of ancient Egypt, Kemet, hold on Christianity and other faith systems, as history reveals that all these religions borrowed elements from neighboring faith traditions. Welcome knowledge from books beyond the Bible. Number five, stop letting white Christian definitions of good and bad, evil, and just guide you. Number six, challenge yourself to read about the study and history of biblical times to get a better understanding of the context in which the faith emerged. Number seven, explore the dissertation of the legendary black theologian, the late Dr. James Cone, who argued the most humanist and universal theology is black theology because it recognizes the equality of all So shout out to everybody coming in here. I don't know if anybody's having any issues with the with the space, anything with the connection, because I know some of our people were in and they kind of was coming in and out and stuff like that. So hopefully the connection the connection is not too bad. I'm hoping so. We'll see what's up. But Professor, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Shout out to my people over there. Nightfall says yes, black Christianity. He says yes, black Christianity harms black folks because most black churches only emphasize prosperity, religion, and forgive in the face of oppression, all while taking in billions of dollars. So Nightfall said he's going after black Christianity. He ain't going after the white one. He's going in on the actual black Christianity as well too. Shout out to you guys. Make sure you go ahead and retweet the space out. Professor, from what I just read there, what's your opinions on the impact of white Christianity on on Black America as a whole? And the article is actually also talking about Black people, I guess, globally as well too, with the actual impact that white Christianity has had on I guess Black people all throughout this world. I particularly was focusing in on America itself, but what's your opinion? And shout out, I see that Negro up here as well too. And Professor up here? Professor may have
Yeah, I'm here. So I thought about this back a while ago, and I have said this in spaces, in a few of the late night spaces, and even in your spaces, that I feel like the turning of the so-called cheek has been a detriment to Black Americans in particular, but globally as well. But just speaking in American terms, the turn of the cheek is not good to continue to do, because what that does, it allows your enemy to continue to spit in your face or continue to do harm to you, and you're just going to keep sitting there as well. I'm just going to turn the other cheek and I'm just going to pray about it. That is not good, Black American people, Black American family. We've been doing it too long, and it has not worked out very well for us. Because as we see, you can sit here and turn the other cheek. They're going to continue to slap both cheeks. They're going to continue to step on you. They're going to continue to disrespect you. And you're going to just keep sitting back, playing the Christian role, well, I'm just going to pray about it, and it's all in God's hand. Well, you are a fool to continue to sit back and let people hit you and slap you without some kind of self-defense. And Malcolm X said it best, baby. That is, you are a fool that don't defend yourself. Okay? And I think our people have taken this crap too long. We sit back, we watch, but we don't take action against people that continue to disrespect us. But what I do notice is we are willing to take action against our own. Now we get in the streets and get the fighting and shooting at each other in the streets over little petty stuff too, by the way. Now we'll bring that heat to each other, but we don't have a tendency to bring the fire to the people that we should be bringing the fire to. So total, that is my take on Christianity. It is a detriment to our people because we keep sitting back using this whole thing about, well, you just got to pray about it and pray for your enemies. And how you going to pray for an enemy that don't love you, that wants you dead, right? The enemy wants you dead. They want you out of here. They don't want you in the country of America. So yes, Total, so-called white Christianity has been a serious detriment to our people. And that's how I feel about it. And that's the only way I see it.
Yes, sir, Professor. Thank you. When you look at some of the historical injustices that's in the country, and you see, I always find that funny when people say, America is a Christian nation. America was founded on Christianity, and I say, well, wait a minute. When we look at the instances of how the actual nation was founded, the theft of land, the theft of people, kidnapping, everything that was forced on people, and just the things that you were subjected to, be it black people and other people in this country as well too. I don't know if you could say that, that's a Christian principle of how you would go about doing things. And even, you know, during the height of the civil rights movement, and you saw people out there peacefully protesting, singing gospel songs, and you got German shepherds being sicked on people, water hoses being put on people, churches bombed, crosses burned. I mean, just, the type of things that you say, hey, a Christian nation would never do this right here. But, nonetheless, they got the past of being a Christian nation. So when things got called out, people got upset and they said this and they said that or whatever. I definitely wanted to hear what you had to say too, Ugly Truth, because I know you when you saw the title, you had a little bit of a question about it. So I did send you an invite to speak because I did want to get your opinion about it, because it seemed like you had an issue with the actual title, and I wanted to actually hear what you said, because I know you said something about mental illness. I don't know if you can put the whole thing of under the guise of everything that's happened in this country, under the guise of Christianity, and say, well, this is just mental illness, because a lot of these people knew exactly what was going on and what they were doing as well too. Like I say, when you look at how the country was founded, you look at everything, even to this day, how it's maintained and everything else like that, how the power structure has to stay in the hand of a particular group of people. I don't know how you can say that's Christian. And now it seems like with the the white nationalism movement picking up and stuff like, and of course you've always had white nationalism tied in into the actual to quote unquote the Christian faith here in America, because when you had the Ku Klux Klan, a lot of people consider them to be a religious organization at one time as well too, that they were doing God's work, and it was their responsibility to keep everything separated in terms of the actual races, in terms of having a hierarchy of who's on top and who's on the bottom as well too. That's when you see the burning of the crosses and all this crazy stuff as well too. So I find that a little bit crazy when I hear people saying that this is a Christian nation, and then you're quick to talk about other nations throughout the world. Or, when something bad happens to them, you say, well, you know what? If they had only followed the actual teachings of the Bible and God, this wouldn't have happened to them. I know a big thing they had was when Pat Robertson, one of the TV evangelists, they used to be on. What was Pat Robertson on, the 700 Club or something like that? Professor, I think that show used to come.
700 Club. He was on that for years.
Yeah. And Pat ran for president of the United States before too. But Pat, when that earthquake hit, it hit Haiti back in, I don't know if it was 2010 or when it hit Haiti. But Pat was basically saying that the Haitians were cursed, and that the Haitians went ahead and they were practicing voodoo, and because they basically turned their back on Christianity, this is what happened to them, and this and that or whatever. Now we look at the way black people in this country was treated. And black people, the only thing they had during slavery time, during civil rights, during Jim Crow, was their faith in God. Black people went to church religiously. They believed everything. They believed everything that was in the Bible to be the absolute gospel. But nonetheless, black people were still, at the bottom of the barrel, how they were being treated in terms of rights and wages, and just trying to live a regular life in this country. Now, people, and then you'd have people justify things like that and say, black people, the reason you guys are the way you are, and the reason that you've fallen off because you're a cursed people and you're Hamites and all this kind of stuff, and all this crazy stuff to justify the actual subjugation of black people, not only in America, but worldwide as well too, that you're cursed people and this and that or whatever. So that kind of stuff. And then you had black people play along with it. Black people say, well, you know what? if we just keep pushing forward, eventually we'll come from underneath our curse and everything will be everything and this and that or whatever. And I even know people, I got family members and stuff like that that are, Hebrew Israelites, and I got, Jehovah Witnesses. I got the whole wide range of people in my family, in terms of the religion. And a lot of our people feel like too that, hey, we're coming from underneath our curse, our 400-year curse, and then we'll be able to go ahead and take our rightful place and stuff like that. I have to say, I don't believe that black people are cursed personally. That's my personal feeling. I don't believe that we're a cursed group of people. I think we just went up against a group of people that would do anything to win, and they did do anything to win. And I know some people disagree because that they're cold and hard into the Bible and they believe in the curses and this and that or whatever. And to each is his own. But I personally don't believe that we're a cursed group of people, and we had to wear this curse for 400 years and stuff. Like I don't really do that. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't do that. I look at the world, and just like the title white Christianity, we see the way Christianity came out of Europe and the way it was forced on people all over this world, indigenous populations all over this world. It was like either lay down or get down. And even when people went ahead and joined up and stuff like that and did it a free will, they still got taken advantage of. There's not a bigger group of Christians in this country than black people were. And, Christianity did play a role. Christianity did play a role in some liberation in this country as well, too. I'm not going to say it didn't, because during slavery time, the only time that blacks could really get together and actually, congregate without master looking over them was doing religious ceremonies, doing church and all the other stuff as well, too. So the actual Christianity did give black people a chance to come together where you can actually scheme up some stuff like that. You're like, okay, well, they're not looking at us too much because it's church time or whatever. But all this curse and all this other kind of stuff that, even a lot of our people do, I can't go along with we curse and we this and that or whatever and all this other kind of stuff. I see my man, that Negro, you came up here. Did you want to go ahead and get it into? And shout out to everybody in the space, guys. Go ahead and retweet the space. The title is White Christianity Killing Black Americans. There's a strong belief in the sense that many people, including myself, that a lot of this white Christianity that we see in the country is also tied to white nationalism and white extremism as well, too. But here's the thing. White nationalism and white Christianity goes back to the founding of this country. So just because you're online and just because we see Proud Boys and we see the skinheads and this group or that group, it's always been that way. It's always been that way since this country's been founded. It's nothing new. It's just out there more, and people are just coming out there and saying more and more and more. Like I say, the Klan was the first white nationalist, the first white, so quote unquote Christian group or whatever in this country, and they were supposed to be an actual religious group, and they were nothing but extremists, terrorists, white supremacists, white nationalists. Their whole thing was to go ahead and to destroy anything that was quote unquote non-white. So that Negro, what's going on with you tonight?
Hey, brother Newstoter, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Okay, I'm doing all right, man. How about you and DJ? Y'all all right?
Oh yeah. We doing good. We definitely doing good.
Okay, well, I appreciate this platform, and this subject definitely strikes a major chord with me. So I appreciate you giving me the microphone and let me get my spill off. Peace, power, and American Negro reparations to the room, specifically for the Black American Negro freedmen who built this country with slave labor per the lands promised in Special Field Orders number 615, January 16, 1865. That's a tongue twister if you don't say it right. But yeah, is white Christianity killing Black Americans? Many of you are aware of the big move I got, huge lifetime move I got coming up. March 1st, I'll be going to Delaware from Washington State to go help our people really galvanize, support, and educate the masses out there in Delaware to, the mind frame that we all as a collective have came to embrace and promote pretty much second nature, you know. But that's not to say like the Christianity that I was raised in right here in Port Arthur, Washington, Church of Christ. You know, I had to shut my door to them. I had to close off my life. I did crater role in this church, right? So I go and I talked to, this was about 2 years ago. I talked to a pastor of our church, someone I respected, looked up to, really had, you know, emotional ties with, you know, the guy had been to my birthday parties and all this cool stuff. He was an elder now. And so I thought, all right, let me go to the elder with this reality question about reparations, to someone that I know is even-handed and pretty savvy and up-to-date with politics and all this stuff. I really respected that guy. So I went up and I said, hey, and this was in the beginning, you know, when we were all going crazy and name-banging and all that wild stuff. And I asked him, I said, hey, what do you think about reparations? I didn't have the jargon or the lingo that I have today. I was like, what do you think about, you know, the Black American, I didn't say it in these words, but the BAMF community getting repaid for all of these egregious harms that this country has done. I mean, namely, just for the first one, hey, these bastards considered us 5 or 3/5 of a human being, y'all. That is the Constitution of this America. So this country was founded on the principles that we were 3/5 of a human. We weren't even human, y'all. So that really illustrated to me by him coming back and saying, oh, his response to that was, oh, let's forgive and forget. And I looked this man in the face and I said, damn, that is super easy for you to say from a white privileged background. You know, you came up, you had all these things, you got all this stuff to give your family, your sons, your heirs, because of white privilege. But for you not to see what our people go through because of your Christianity, that just showed me how cowardly and how backwards this system was. And I'm going to tell you the truth. From that day forward, I never stood in that church again. I'll never respect anyone from that church again. And I think all those sheeple that follow that doctrine, that still stands, if they could, they would still stand firmly that we are not human. We are 3/5 of a human being. Why? Because that is the ideology, that European supremacy, not white supremacy. European supremacy has indoctrinated the masses with, and that's what these people perpetuate and antagonize to this day when they're talking about us. And it's very offending today to call any God or anyone that would specifically set aside our people to be stepped on and walked through. But then say, oh, just turn the other cheek, Christians, let's do the right thing. No. I will never stand for, in fact, as a religion, as it goes, I guess I'm leaning more towards an atheist today because of those words that this man that I respected said about our people and what we deserve is more of the same, turn the other cheek, and you take what you get, don't throw a fit. And I'm sick of that, and I think we all are. And so this question really, I had to get up here today, Newstoter, and I had to speak directly to the Church of Christ in Port Arthur, Washington, the racist people and the ideologies that continuously flow through that place and any place like it, which is the majority of religious entities today, or establishment, all of those people need to take a long walk down the short pier. And that's just my reality coming to y'all from a, mulatto, a blended, whatever you want to call it, person that has been indoctrinated, and I'm sick of it. Until we get what's deserved, this system can never, will never, and shall never prevail. So, yeah, I know I was long-winded. That ain't me, Newstoter. But this subject really meant a lot to me. So, I appreciate you giving me the mic and letting me speak my piece, brother. Thank you.
No problem, man. You can stick around too and stay up here if you want to jump back up in there as well too. And shout out to Simply Rick for the contribution on Cash App. Anybody that wants to speak as well too, guys, because I want to get people's hear some of the opinions on here. I'll read a couple of the comments off of YouTube real quick. So anybody that wants to come on up here, request to speak. Nightfall, and in case y'all missed it, when he came in, he says he started talking about the black church. He says the black church harms black folks because most black churches only emphasize prosperity, religion, and forgive in the face of oppression, all while taking in billions of dollars. Shinabi, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, says all Abrahamic religions of mythology, regardless of who's practicing it. Nightfall also said that's because black Christianity has changed along with white Christianity. They became envious. He's saying black churches became envious of the success that you had, the televangelists like Jimmy Swaggart and Jim Baker. He also says, and I said we got a couple people coming up here, so I'm going to let them get on up here as well, too. Shout out to, I see Moku, I got you. Let me read this real quick. He says, because white Christians only talk about Israelites and the journey out of Egypt in the wilderness, all about the life of Jesus in this time, yet they leave out major parts where Christians took up swords against their enemies. They can't let the slaves know God blesses his children that have the spirit to fight. So shout out to Nightfall for dropping that little nugget. Go ahead, Moku. What's going on with you tonight? What's up, Ishmael and Twiz? I see you guys down there as well too. Ray, what's up? I see you down there. All my people down there. Definitely retweet the space out, guys. Definitely retweet the space out, and I want to hear the conversations. Go ahead, Moku. I know you got something to say about this. So what's going on?
What's going on, Toda? What's going on, everybody in the space?
What's up?
I'm gonna definitely keep this short and sweet. I know you know where I'm going at with this. The religion of white supremacy has always been responsible for harming black Americans, aka black victims of racism, white supremacy. And one due tell sign is church, any church, all churches, first of all, are the religion of racism, white supremacy. Secondly, anybody asking you to come in to their house and believe anything, they are trying to harm you. Because if I'm asking you to believe anything that Brother Muko believes, I'm simply asking you to not know. Just settle for not knowing. Even in that some says righteous book, I say debaucherous book they call the Bible. Even in that Bible, if you want to go by that, it says in that Bible, he shall know the truth, and the truth shall set him free. It don't say nothing about belief. The only thing that qualifies a belief is simply for you not to know exactly what you're talking about, you believe. So anybody starting a sentence with, well, I believe, all you're saying is, well, I don't know, well, I don't know, well, I don't know. And if you're cool with that, that's cool. I mean, you're a victim of racism, white supremacy. You have a thing called BGQ. So if you want to, believe stuff and not know it, to trust it, that's your qualified, your victims qualified, certification for you to, you're qualified to feel that way. But I would just say this: us learning from centuries and centuries of seeing council after council after council, talking about the Council of Nicaea, Council of Macedonia, Council of everybody else, when they have put this story together that they try to tell us that's the beginning story and all that. Look, this stuff isn't rocket science, and we shouldn't make it more than rocket science. Everything that this earth is nature. We are made up of those very four elements of nature, and we need to start acting in our nature and stop being against our nature. Our land.
All right. Thank you, Moku. Thank you. Sexy Rod, I know you ain't got your hand up, but I wanted to see if you wanted to go ahead and speak now. You want me to come back to you?
No, good evening. I'll go ahead and speak. I was just waiting my turn. I will say that...
Sexy, Rod, can I get you up a little bit louder if possible? You got a headset on?
Let's see. Hold on one second. Let me just stop.
All right. We'll see if we can get up a little bit louder just for the people over there on YouTube. Twizzle, what's up? I'm surprised you hadn't requested to come up here as well, too. And I want to hear what people, if somebody in the space and they feel like, hey, white Christianity is getting a bad rep. Bill,
Okay, is that better?
Yes, ma'am. You got it.
Okay, all right. I was on Bluetooth, so I had to take it off. But I want to say that, of course, we started out where the church was just a place for us to convene. We didn't necessarily, I think, buy into the Christianity of the beliefs because, we already knew things back in the day. Our ancestors. But I think now a lot of people have bought into white Christianity. And it is a form of conditioning and indoctrination to keep our people in a place. But then at the same time, I look at the Bible as a book of fables and things of that nature that they really is our actual, spirituality, but they have taken it and now weaponizing it against us, right? And to see how our churches right now, it's not doing anything for our communities where they can be more active in engaging with us in our communities, but it's just a way for some to make money. It's a way for some to, I guess, feel that they are receiving what or getting some knowledge, I guess you could say. But at the end of the day, it's turned into something that is not for us. To me, for me, I will say when I was in my late 20s, going into my 30s, I realized that some things wasn't as what they appear to be, and I kind of started changing then. And I have a mother that is a minister. So it's been really challenging to engage even in some conversations with her, considering that I'm like, I think this is right in front of your face. And if you're a godly being, you got to acknowledge what is right in front of your face. So it's interesting to see individuals see things, or they see things differently from you, and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to be the degenerate, but and the sinner. But then you're looking at people in the church like, wait a minute, you should be able to know these things before me. So I'm gonna just land it there because I'm now to the point where I'm like, no, I can't do the church thing. So I'll land it.
We had a space, Sexy Raw, a couple years ago, and it was about the amount of money I think since 1980 what the Black church has brought in, and I cannot remember, but it was I don't know if it was anywhere from $500 to $700 billion. It was a ridiculous amount of money that the actual Black church has actually brought in. And I don't misquote me, guys. We did this space a couple years ago. It was, let's put it this way, it was hundreds of billions of dollars that the Black church just since 1980, has made from the actual Black community. So I get you on that. I also, my mom, she's gone now. She yesterday was 2 years ago. Yesterday was it was the 2-year anniversary that she died yesterday, but she was one. She was deep into the church, so if there was anything in that Bible that you said, well, this kind of conflicts, or this don't kind of make any sense, you pretty much were just speaking to the door, because she wasn't trying to hear that. We was raised in the faith and all that too, so she wasn't gonna hear that or whatever. So whatever was in that.
But with that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's in the Bible. Reparations is in the Bible. Even the slaves received their silver and gold. So when people fight on, especially the Christian, and they say they don't believe in reparations for our people, I do a 360. I turn my head a 360, because if you're listening to your higher power, it's there, and they warn you about foreigners coming to your land. Now, some people say, "Oh, that's not that's the Old Testament. It's not the New Testament." And I'm like, well, why would the New Testament be any different? But anyway, I don't know those Bible verses out of the New Testament, and they've yet to show them to me. I'll land it there.
Oh, don't start with the Old Testament with the New Testament too, because then you get a whole nother argument coming on and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, I'm with you. Like, if you could show her that reparations in the Bible, she believe it. But even certain things are like, well, this kind of contradicts it, and you just wasting your time. So I learned to, like, especially with our older generation, if it's something about faith or whatever, and they grew up in it, I don't even get into it with them, because you're just fighting a losing battle. Now, you made an interesting point, Sexy Red, and I got you, Moku, like, about some of our people believing, some of the stuff that associated with white Christianity. Do you feel like in a certain way that our people are kind of like some of the folks over there in Africa, where they, visually they have this 25-foot tall white Jesus, and even though we don't have a white Jesus erected here in America, our mindset still to a certain degree kind of thinks that way as well too, like, because it's been drilled into our heads so much that we don't have the white Jesus, and most of us don't have white Jesuses hanging up in our houses anymore. But to a certain degree, we still kind of have that mindset as well too, because it's been beaten in for hundreds of years over here.
I'm gonna answer that question, Toda. I'm gonna say yes, yes, and yes. This has proven to be a dilemma for Black people, just like Sexy Ross said. Our people.
Mocha, let me see if I get you a little bit louder, just for the people on YouTube.
My bad, I had my finger over the speaker. Can you hear me better now?
I can hear you a little better, but go ahead.
Okay, but just like the Sexy Ross point, the church and definitely in our community was used for a different sense. It was used for a sense of protection. If you remember in the movie Rosewood and other movies, like with Vernon Johns and I think I'm saying his name right, Vernon Johns. They used the church as a place to gather the plan. What we gonna do to protect the women and the children? Remember in Rosewood, we gathered at the church. Look, this is what we gonna do. These white people acting crazy. We gotta get the women and the children in the swamp. You know what I'm saying? Get them to the train. You know what I'm saying? This was a place for us to gather our intelligence and keep and really for our elders to keep the youth safe. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really, once we got out of that plantation like slave mindset. If you remember in Rosewood, when that white boy came to the church, and when it was time for them to discuss the safety of us, you gotta leave. You gotta get up out of here. You feel what I'm saying? That's how our elders treated church. They understood what church was. They didn't believe all of it. They knew that the stories of the Bible were lessons of how humans should conduct themselves on, when they're interacting with each other. They understood that. We took it to a whole nother level, and I'm gonna say this. I just had a space yesterday explaining the drones and what drones can do. And look, I'm a pilot. I've been a pilot going on 4 years now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm giving my brothers and my sisters insight on what's really going on, so they won't be duped by what white supremacy is feeding you about aliens and all this BS. So, man, you wouldn't believe man, the religion of white supremacy does so much work on the victims that I actually had a victim of white supremacy in my space talking about, well, how you don't know that those drones not God? They just coming out of the middle of the water. We don't know where they coming from. In the Bible, it says something about swing low with the giant. And this, I said, look, bro, I'm telling you that I'm a pilot, and I'm telling you what it is. You know what I'm saying? And instead of you listening and understanding that, okay, somebody's telling me what they know, not what they believe, not something that, they was told by somebody else. This guy's telling me straight from his mouth, he owns drones, this is what they can do. He does it every day. And this guy still conditioned his mind to, it could be God. I will be myself, I think it's God. And I'm just like, no, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, and I really trust this from the evidence. The religion of white supremacy is put in place so that we will always run away from fighting and dismantling the system of racism, white supremacy as a whole. That's the design. That's why religion is put in place the way it is. That's why it's orchestrated to us the way it is, indoctrinated in us to make us go to that. I mean, this victim didn't want to hear none of the facts. He rather, I'm going to go to God and say, this is God. You know what I'm saying? And it just ran away from his whole responsibility of dismantling the system of racism, white supremacy. And basically what he did was, hey, I'm going to get this off to my children. Because I don't want to fight that fight. And that's sad. That's cowardice. So I would say that the religion of white supremacy is definitely a dilemma put in place for us to, go 10 toes down on what we believe, and what we believe is simply what we don't know. Even me, even Brother Muko, I'm not outside of that. I will never discuss with y'all what I believe, because I don't want y'all to give a damn about nothing I believe. Y'all want you to care about everything that I know. Because see, that's more valuable. That's going to help you and your offspring through this dreary-ass system of racism, white supremacy, and hopefully give us enough knowledge to dismantle it. So I'll land that.
Real talk. Thank you. Here's the thing too. I always talk about when people talk about the, and I know some people look at the title and say, well, is white Christianity killing Black Americans? We can look at some instances throughout history. When you had the bombing in Atlanta, the church bombing that killed the 4 girls, there's just certain things that as a group of people that Black people just, whether you can have your arch nemesis over at a church or something like that. Black people, for the most part, they're not going to go in there. They're not going to attack a church. They're not going to go in there and they're not going to attack a church. They're not going to go to a graveyard. 9 out of 10. They're not going to go ahead and deface people's the resting places and certain things that we were just brought up with as people. Like, if your parents mess around and heard you, say the wrong thing in church, you might get popped in the mouth or whatever. So to have the audacity to go up there and bomb a church and with these girls and to kill them in the church and, all the kind of stuff that's going on that drag people out of churches and stuff like that. So you can take them to a lynching party and stuff like that. When you want to talk about Christianity and being a Christian nation, then this is some of the kind of stuff that you got to deal with right here. Same Christian nation, when it was time in Boston to go ahead and bus kids and stuff like that, over there turning buses over with students with Black kids on there and stuff like that. People get upset when you talk about America being a Christian nation and just full of crap. We were found on these kind of no, listen. If we were truly found on the principles of Christianity, then this country wouldn't have been founded the way it actually was. You can't sit up here and talk about that this is a Christian nation and everything and this and that or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And you outright killing people for land, murdering people, enslaving people, beating the living daylights out of people, destroying entire groups of people and stuff like that. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that. Nowhere in the Bible does Jesus say, go out here and just destroy, just destroy and take everything that you could or whatever. So Nightfall's got a good question. Let me read it real quick. He says, yo, dude, so to riddle me this, if the New Testament only go by if the new Christians only go by the New Testament, why do they constantly invoke the 10 Commandments, which is old? I don't know. I'll be honest, that inquiring minds would like to know. I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm going to say something right here, Brother Moku. I don't have any issue with anybody. I don't care what faith you are, whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Buddhist, whatever. Like I said, and like Dr. John Henry Clark said, take whatever religion or whatever, and you need to go ahead and blackify it pretty much. And I'm paraphrasing that. You put more of your heart and soul into these religions than any other group. Whether people want to say, whether you want to debate whether black people were the first of this or that or whatever, let's say even if you weren't the first or whatever, you still come into these actual religions and you pour your heart and soul into it more than the actual people, quote unquote, who supposedly invented these religions and stuff like that. My only thing too, and I found out later on, people were saying, the Bible, like a lot of the actual verses that you read in the Bible about Jesus and stuff like that, apparently Jesus didn't play. We think about Jesus as being this this soul, who just was just a peaceful man and this and that, whatever. I've heard all kind of people tell, in the Bible, like Jesus was a fierce warrior himself and stuff like that. The actual teachings that were taught down to black people in slavery time were to keep black people subjugated and docile as much as possible. That's why certain verses was read to the slaves and certain verses was left out as well too. So I don't have any issue with anybody, whether you're a Christian, you're a Muslim. I know people talk about the Abrahamic religions and this and that or whatever religion you want to be, as long as you put it to use for yourself. And as long as in that religion, you can find some sense of black empowerment. Hey, I'm going to say more power to you. My issue is when people start saying stuff like that, and I hear a lot of the older generation, especially black people, and aunts and great aunts and people. When I started hearing people, and even my family said, "Well, they having this debate about what color Jesus was and this and that," and my thing is, does it really matter? And when I started hearing stuff like that, when I started hearing these older people start saying, "Well, does it really matter what color Jesus is and this and that?" Well, apparently it mattered to some people. Some people went out of the way to make sure that it mattered, because all these pictures and stuff that we saw growing up, he was always white with blonde hair. I can remember Easter time, we had to watch the 10 Commandments. We had to watch Jesus of Nazareth. We had to watch King of Kings. That was a staple in our house. That was going Easter. You watching that? You watching Ben-Hur? You watching all of the? Charlton Heston was played on the TV more than anybody. Charlton Heston's supposed to be Moses, and this joke, white is I don't know what. He's supposed to be Moses. So we grew up watching all that stuff right there, and that stuff was considered the gospel and this and that. And never growing up, at any time, anybody in the family said, you know what? These people are supposed to be in today what is called the Middle East. Like, why are they so white? Why don't they have any color to them? The only time you would see the black people on there, normally they would be captured, they'd be slaves, they'd be maybe some kind of paid arms or something like that. But they were always insignificant. They were always, pretty much the captured or the slaves or the help or the work or whatever. But you always saw this, like I say, and growing up, it was never questioned. It was never saying, you know what, why are all these people supposed to be in Egypt and Jerusalem and all these other places and stuff? These people are like lily white. Like, why don't we see any people that's darker and everything else? And it was just accepted as it was what it was. So like I said, growing up, we always watched these type of shows, never thought about it. And as I started getting older and older, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, yo, these jokers are pretty white here. Like, and I'm not saying that you didn't have some white people in ancient times in those areas, because we know you had the Romans and the Greeks and stuff, but like the entire region cannot be white. The entire region just cannot be white. Let me go ahead and get to that Negro. That Negro, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, I appreciate the second chance at this mic. When you were talking, bringing up some some gems, Newstoter. I remember this movie. I can't remember the name of it, but they were lynching one of our people, and they had hung him, and it was late at night. It was like I don't know what time, but like the dawn was about to break, morning was about to come, and all of a sudden, one of the hoods came off, and one of the people said, "Pastor, we got church in the morning," and they were talking to the pastor of their church that had just got done hanging our people, literally talking about, we got to get done hanging this person so we can make it to church in the morning. That is how evil, despicable, and disgusting these characters are that we are up against, y'all. This is a person of the cloth that took it upon himself to hang this poor person for whatever reason. And that man's going to get up and put his little collar and suit and sip his grape juice or whatever in the morning. Like, what in the actual, you know what? I'll leave it right there, but that just, I mean, and that, who knows how many times that happened in reality. That probably happened once a week back then with all this madness. But yeah, I wanted to point that out. Great points, Newstoter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me go ahead and get to it. Anybody else wants to speak? I see Park then came up here as well too, so I'm gonna let Park get it in. Moku, Park, did you want to speak real quick before I get to Moku? Or are you good for right now?
Let Moku go. I'll be right back.
Okay, Park, and when you come back, if you got a headset on, if you got the earbuds in, make sure you take it off too so we can hear you clear. Anybody that's got a headset or your earbuds in, please go ahead and take them out. Turn your phone up as high as we can get it. We want to hear you loud and clear. And we want our people that we're streaming on YouTube to be able to hear you. Because like I tell them, we have no control over anybody's phone. So, Moku, go ahead and unmute your mic. You there, Moku?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. I'm gonna say this, Toda. When I was 15, and this was back in 1993, I was 15 years old. And I'm gonna just state this little story real quick for people that think this shit was just like 100 or 200 years ago.
Try not to curse, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I received a letter at my residence. It was me, my father, lived in the house, just me and my dad. And I would always get the mail. I remember Catonsville. I'm in Baltimore, Catonsville. And I checked the mail in the morning and I received a letter. And on the letterhead, on the envelope, it had KKK, you know what I'm saying, United American KKK, the Lodge 604, something like that. And it was a letter inside. And the letter it had a KKK letterhead. And it was stating for us to get out of Catonsville. And I remember showing this letter to my father. Because I didn't know what, I was like, I was really like, what the hell? I'm like, what is this? And my dad said, I said, what we going to do? My father looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what you mean what we going to do? Let them try to come to this house. Let them try to come and put us out. Then see what they going to get. We ain't never moved from Catonsville. We stayed right there. My father stayed working where he was working until he decided to leave. You know what I'm saying? And the whole point that I'm trying to get to is, when I say the religion of white supremacy, I'm not talking about some mythological thing that I thought up, or I done read a bunch of Nearly Fuller books or Francis Cresswell's books, and I'm just going off of somebody else's theory. When I say we're going off of lived experiences, this is lived experience. You know what I'm saying? These people try to make themselves God. Always be suspicious of a person trying to make God a human. And I'm going to repeat that. You should always be suspicious of a person trying to make so-called God or Jesus a human. Okay? Something that created you. Because see, humans don't create. All we do is copy. Alright? Even when it comes down to sex, we copy what our parents did. You know what I'm saying? We are the master copiers. And we need to understand our place and we need to understand our place in the chain. You know what I'm saying? In the food chain. We are not gods. Okay? Gods deal with creation. That means taking nothing and from nothing creating something. We don't do that. We manage everything that was already created and put in by the creator or creators themselves. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to point that out to individuals, and I like the way that you titled this Newstoter is white Christianity, because there is a type of Christianity that so-called, and I'll just say with my air quotation fingers up, black people or our ancestors practiced, but it wasn't the Christianity that we see today. Not this white Christianity that Newstoter so brilliantly put in the title. You know what I'm saying? We definitely need to understand when we're looking at very poor carbon copies of our spiritual system. And that's what this is. The whole religion of white supremacy. I'm talking about every single religion, from Baptist to Muslim to Judaism. All of it is very poor carbon copy of our spiritual system. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's in these religions are against nature. Even when you get down to the Father, the Son, where's the Mother? They replace her with a Holy Ghost. You feel what I'm saying? When you get to the Catholicism, Mother Mary, but they mysteriously talk about there's no Father. But they always talking about Mother Mary and it always being an immaculate conception. That right there is elimination of man. See, we have to understand what we're looking at when it's being shoved in our face, and we have to ask questions. See, the thing that got me questioning all the religions is when I was going to church, I asked my pastor one question, and it just stumbled his whole delivery to me. And that one question was, "Hey," I said, "Pastor," I said, "can you ask me a question?" And he said, "Yeah, you know." I said, "Pastor Jake," I said, "why does Easter change?" I said, "Now Easter, hold on, let me make sure I got this correct. Easter is about the death of so-called Jesus," and he used to get irritated when I said that. You don't have to say so-called, son. His name was Jesus for real. Okay, well, so-called Jesus, you know, this was the death of him, right? Yeah, that's what this is about. His resurrection. I said, okay. I said, well, why does his death change every year? Like every year, his death is on a different day. But my grandmother, she died June 23rd. I said, every year, her death date is the same. I said, so what's up with Jesus? Why is Jesus so special? He looked at me, he said, you know what? He said, Brother Ugo, I don't know, but we can find the answer together. See, what he didn't bank on was I really searched for the answer. And when I found out that it was all about the goddess of fertility, and it was about the rise of erection, you know what? Pastor Jake ain't had no words for me. He ain't had no rap for me. And Pastor Jake, he the pastor for the wizards. You know what I'm saying? Real time today. He a real pastor. I know this cat. But you know what? He ain't talked to me about religion since 2000 and what, like one? Because once I asked that question, he had to tell me the truth or not talk to me at all. And he ain't ready to tell me the truth because he ain't ready to lose his congregation up in Tannytown and at the Wizards. So I just land in with that. Sorry I was so long-winded. Thanks for letting me speak to it.
No, you good. I want to say, when was the last time, or when have we ever had a white Christian organization that has stood up for Black people in this country? Like, I mean, if any of you guys know a white in the 20th century, when have we had because I know people will say, well, you know, you had Quakers, you had some Quakers, you know, and even that, you know, gets played out too. But when have you had a white Christian organization, a white church sit up here and say, you know what, we're against discrimination, we're against racism, we're against white supremacy, we're against people living as second-class citizens, we're against lynchings, we're against police brutality. We like to see the income wage in this country, you know, disappear. The wealth gap between Black and white. When have you ever seen these white Christians get up here? Because they all have shows on TV. You have all these mega churches on TV. You have all these mega preachers with jets and mansions and everything else like that. And some of these mega churches, you got a good number of Black people sitting up in there as well too. When have you ever seen any of these people say that? Now, I know my parents, they used to love what's his name used to come on? Billy Graham. I know they like Billy Graham because they say, you know, Billy Graham didn't talk about politics. He remained neutral and this and that or whatever. Yeah. But how many times did Billy Graham sit up here and say, you know what, this is going too far and we need to stop this, that this country was found on the blood of innocent people, and that, you know, we need to go ahead as Christians and we need to go ahead and we need to do the right thing and we need to go ahead and make all these groups of people in this country whole that we've destroyed. You don't see that. You don't see any of that. You got all of these people that's sitting up here talking about and it's great that they want to talk about the way the country's going. They want to talk about transgender rights, and and rightfully so, they want to talk about abortion, this and that. They want to talk about all this stuff. They say, you know, this goes against the Bible and this and that or whatever. But you don't think enslaving, you know, people and murdering people and killing people and all kind of other stuff, that don't go either. I mean, you should have had some of these big televangelists and everything else come out here. You should have had these religious organizations. The Catholic Church, they co-sign this stuff right here. They co-sign it. The popes and everything else, these people co-signed and wrote off on all of this stuff right here. So to sit up here and we want to talk about Christianity, white Christianity, and this and that or whatever, whenever it's a time that's presented for any of these organizations to step up, these nonprofits, these churches, all this other stuff, they want to sit up here and talk about this, that, or whatever. They're not serious. You know, they set up here, and for years, when you had the domestic terrorism going on in this country, you never saw white churches out here protesting this stuff and saying enough is enough. You barely had the white politicians that even wanted to open their mouth. None of them said anything. And to this day, they don't say anything. And when you start sitting up here and you start having some of the unrest that you had in the 2020 George Floyd protests and riots and everything else like that, you don't have these white churches come up here. Now, occasionally, I will say this, occasionally you'll get I'll come across an article on Newstoter where you have one of these white churches say, you know what, we're going to do our part and we're going to give back some reparations or whatever. We're going to give money to this group or whatever. We're going to give money to Black people. But that's like one in damn 100,000. I mean, for the amount of money that they've made off of Black people in this country, you never, ever hear this thing come out. You never hear these people say any of this stuff right here. So that's what I want to know. And I'm posing that question to anybody in the chat, in the space, YouTube, Twitter. When was the last time that you saw an actual white organization? And we're just going to say here in the 20th century. We're not going to even go back. We're not going to go back to the 16, the 17, 18, 19. We're going to say just the 20th century to the 21st. When have you seen a major white organization? When have you seen a major white preacher, bishop, anything? Now we got the new pope. I can't think his name right now. He's pretty outspoken. He talks about all of the discrimination. He talks about this. He talks about that. He's supposed to be one of the most liberal pope maybe of all time. Has that pope said anything about reparations? Has that pope said anything about the historical treatment of Black people in this country and around the world and other groups, marginalized groups, if you want to say? Has he said anything about that? I know he says stuff about the LGBTQ and same-sex marriage and this and that and abortion and all this other stuff. So you can be real liberal and you can be real progressive, but you can't get too liberal and you can't get too progressive. Okay, when you start talking about doing stuff for black people and trying to right some of the wrongs that black people have gone through, now you become an extremist. You're not even a progressive. You're not even a liberal. You're just an extremist. You're a dangerous idealist. So people are like, hey, we got to go in. We got to put an end to that. We got to put a stop to that. So I want to know, when you guys find out the organization, the church, any of these people in the 20th century on that have done anything, that stirred up anything like that. What's your boy name? Got the mega church. I can't. Joel Osteen, them and everything. Like I said, Joel Osteen got a number of black people in the church, and I know people say, yeah, well, they have. I know. That's what I'm saying. And he's got a decent amount of black people in his congregation too. This joker, his church is an old Houston Rockets stadium. That lets you know. This man's church is an old Houston Rockets stadium. So I want to know exactly when of any of these people that sit up here and then they want to sit up here and talk about they're so conservative and they endorse conservative values and they want to sit up here with Trump and all the other Republican candidates and this and that and all this other stuff. You're real conservative and you're real this, you're real that. You're right down to the wire about the Bible and God says don't lay down with a man and God says don't lay down. Okay, fine. God says that. Now, what does God say about all the other stuff that you guys have enriched yourself with and created generational wealth that you got 1,000 times the amount of wealth that black people got in this country, and they're the ones that built it. So what have they said about that? I'm going to go ahead. Let me give a shout out real quick to my man 400. Thank you for the contribution on Cash App. For anybody that wants to support on Cash App, $Newstoter, Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest black-owned, Black American news media curation platform today in America. Once again, $Newstoter. We also have the PayPal, Venmo up in the Jumbotron. Same for my people over there on YouTube. The Cash App, $Newstoter, and the PayPal, Venmo is in the description. Let me go ahead and get to Park. I want to hear what Park got to say. Park, what's going on tonight?
What's up, Newstoter? Thanks again for hosting one of these. I wanted to point the one about Travis Hunter, but there's too much going on. Anyway, talk about the title of this. I mean, you're right. It is killing us, and I think that the biggest killer is imagery, right? If you talk to many people, you know, it doesn't matter what you look like, but even black people, you ask them, you know, what does Jesus look like? They're going to show you a white man with a beard, blue eyes, blonde hair, and they're going to show you someone who does not historically look like the accurate description of what a man would look like who was born in Jerusalem, or born in Bethlehem, right at the time. Point being is that when they brought this white Christianity to Africans at the time, you know, this was the same thing that they did when they brought Catholicism to Hispanics, right? This is just another way of colonialism because they showed us a white man and they said that this white man is the greatest of all men. And when you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I look the complete opposite of this great white man who is my deity, you know, you then begin to associate yourself, your skin color, your ethnic attributes, characteristics as the opposite of good, right? And it becomes okay to label yourself. It becomes okay for other people to say you're the opposite of what that looks like. You know, we don't have naturally long hair.
You there, Park? Hey, Park. I don't know if we must have lost Park. Hey, Park, can you hear me? Okay, Park, we lost Park. So, Park, if you get a chance to come back up here, we will go ahead and we will get you back up here. Until Park comes back up here, let me go ahead and get to Big Buffalo. Big Buffalo, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Man, how y'all doing?
Hey, what's up now?
Man, cool. Man, I just wanted to say, to answer your question, I don't think they would ever say anything about the wrongdoings that they did to us, because that would have to mean that they have to pay it back. Speaking on reparations would be a huge thing for them because they would lose everything that they have right now. You see what I'm saying? They would have to give back everything that they stole from all of these different countries, which would displace them out of, the field of superiorism. You know what I'm saying? And I also would like to say, whites don't worship God in the spiritual sense. They worship landlords and rulers and shit like that. So when you pick apart the Bible, you get to see how they actually worshiping real men. You know what I'm saying? There is no white religion, not in real life. They have no true entity. That's why they always saying he. They always calling this entity he. They don't understand the concept of celestial spiritual being. So they have to make God a man. Religion to me is more of a social class. It's like a business. The cross is the logo. Christ and crucifix, and a crucifix form is a false god, as the Bible say. You got people who go to church, they wear it, they get it tattooed, they pray in front of it, and they give thanks to it. They even bow down to it and kiss the feet of this statue. You know what I'm saying? But to some extent, I kind of agree with the concept of religion, because we as humans created religions to make sure that the next man share the same views and principles when it comes to morality. It's basically like spiritual self-governance in a way. I don't know if y'all understand what I'm saying. I don't want to be ranting.
No, I understand what you're saying. And I just want everybody to know that I'm not saying not to practice Christianity, Judaism, Islam, anything. What I'm saying is the same way that a certain group of people can come across somebody else's culture and then claim it and reshape it to fit them. I'm saying that Black people need to do the same thing. Whether you want to say we were the creators, we were the first, we was this or whatever, it don't matter with a certain group of people, whether they were the first or not. When they get through with it, they gonna say they were the first, and damn if you say anything different. So I'm saying that whatever religion, whatever belief system you have in this world, it needs to be backed by a Black empowerment belief. It needs to have that. If it's not going to have that, if you can actually go in your house and you say that you have a Black empowerment mindset, but then the deity that you're praying to looks nothing like you. Because if you go to Asia, if you go to China, you're not going to see a Black Jesus over there in the middle of Beijing. Okay, you're not going to see that. You're not going to see a white Jesus up in the middle of that. If you see him, that Jesus is going to look Chinese. And that's what I'm saying with Black people, and not only just the actual what I think what did Park say? He was saying something about the actual perception, the images and whatnot. The images is one thing too, but the actual ideology and everything else, the mindset, Black people need to go ahead and change that all around too. I'm gonna get it back to you, Park, because I know you were speaking and we lost you. So go ahead.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. No, but all of that, and unfortunately, through a lot of obviously, discrimination, Jim Crow, slavery, blah 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 blah. We already know the history of Black America, but our culture is just as embedded in this whole imagery, right? I mean, I heard someone else saying that white people worship lords and landlords or whatever else. We're right there with them, right? I mean, we put value in imagery. A lot of us, I'm not saying all of us do, but a lot of us put value in imagery. Oh, I go to Joel Osteen. It's the biggest church. I go to the guy who was rapping or had a party with P. Diddy, TD Jakes. You know what I mean? So many people take pride in foolishness. It is foolishness to, have pride in saying I go to TD Jakes' church because it's a mega church. It's foolishness to say, oh, I go to Joel Osteen's church and it's good because it's the biggest church, right? I mean, it's just wrapped up in a whole bunch of foolishness. And unfortunately, I think that we got to be honest with ourselves and say that, there are many people who are like that. I grew up Pentecostal. I didn't celebrate Christmas. I didn't celebrate Halloween. I didn't celebrate Easter, right? Because, look, I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but all of those holidays have pagan origins. And whether you think that you're, indulging in the paganism, you are indulging in the paganism. Christmas is a pagan holiday. I'm sorry. I know Merry Christmas is tough to say. It's tough to acknowledge. We've all been growing up with the Santa Claus that Coca-Cola Corporation made. I know it's tough, right? But that's just the truth of it. Easter, which follows, someone was talking about Easter earlier, Easter follows the moon, which is, all paganism. It is a pagan holiday. Halloween is a pagan holiday. All of these holidays that we celebrate, and if you don't do this, you're not a Christian, you don't have real faith. I'm sorry, but it's imagery, it's capitalism, and it is the symptoms and the effects of white Christianity. If you don't have your faith is measured in how big your Christmas tree is. Your faith is measured in how many Easter eggs you have, even though bunnies don't even lay eggs, right? Your faith is measured in so many things that are just wrapped up in foolishness. And, unfortunately, that's, we're just as involved in it as everybody else. But that's the truth. I mean, I still, try to call myself, I still believe the same Pentecostal beliefs. I don't think that I would, knowing and having grown up in a family and in a church where, all these things are known, right? Christmas and whatever else, I probably still won't do those things. But it's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of people. People will go to that to defend their Christmas, to defend their Santa Claus. I mean, people really get, I'm sorry, but it's just the truth. The truth hurts. And another thing I'll say too is that I think a big problem with Christianity as a whole is that the majority of us who are Christians, including myself, because I'm not a pastor, I'm not trying to claim myself to be a voice of God, right? I'm not. I'm a sinner. Point being is that a lot of us are cafeteria Christians, meaning that we see what's going on in the cafeteria. You know what? I'm gonna get a little bit of that, and I'm not gonna do any of that, even though it's right there, right? Even though the Bible says that you have to live like this. Whereas Muslims, many of them, right, they follow it very strictly. Right, people who are Jewish, you have some, who are Orthodox, some who are more moderate, some who are very extreme, right? But if you're an extreme Christian, you're looked down upon, right? You're not fun. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. Oh, it's okay. Oh, that's fine. Oh, we've been doing that for fun. It's just for fun, right? And I feel like so many things in our community are defended with using those words. It's for fun, but it's foolishness. So, I hope one day we can get out of this foolishness and out of this idea that even though things are destructive to our society, we have to keep doing it in the name of having fun, because fun has taken away a lot of lives. Fun has ruined a lot of lives. And we still see it to this day, and again, it sucks being the killjoy and the guy who's calling it out for what it is, right? I didn't make the Bible. I'm just saying what the Bible says. But people will call you the killjoy. People will say you're not, you're thinking about it too much or whatever else. Whereas other religions, no, they stand on business, right? So, we'll do whatever it is, all in the name of having fun.
All right, appreciate that, Parks. What you said, I don't disagree with you. What I will say, this is even for all and I agree with you with the religions, because I've heard about the for them to go ahead in Europe at the time and trying to get as many people to convert to Christianity as possible. They accepted other oh Jesus, what am I thinking about? Other traditions and everything else as well too. That's fine. My thing is that whatever they accepted, if you want to accept something into it or whatever, fine. My thing is standing behind the actual faith to go ahead and actually attack Black people. That's the issue I have, and attack other people as well too. And that's something that, since this country's been founded, they've used the Christian faith, they've used the Bible, and they use all of that to go ahead and justify things that they've done to Black people and other groups as well too. But definitely to justify everything that they've done to Black people. And like I said before, these same people that sit up here that's constantly reading from the Bible, this and that, whatever, these same Christians, when it was time to go ahead and to free slaves, they were against it. These same Christians, when it was time for Reconstruction and for Black people to get what they deserved, that they had worked to the death for, these same Christians was against it. These same Christians was against Black people getting any kind of civil rights in this country. So that lets you know about these so-called Christians, these so-called people that believe everything in the Bible and this and that or whatever. That's my issue. If you want to go ahead and you want to practice something that, hey, may have came from another culture that you're not supposed to be practicing in the Bible, fine. I don't know, Christmas itself, hanging up a Christmas tree and buying some gifts and stuff like that, or even hunting Easter eggs. Yeah, we know that really has nothing to do, quote unquote, with Jesus, but that ain't killing people. So, I don't really care about that. It's all the other stuff that comes and that's put together with the Christian faith in this country when it comes to actually, what's right and what's wrong, which they love to talk about, how fair this country is and how just and everything else. And it's right down the middle, except it's not right down the middle. So that's my issue with it. Like I say, if people want to practice certain things and hang up trees and have a wreath or whatever, I don't care if it came from the Romans or whoever it came from. That's fine or whatever. I have an issue though with you dragging people out of churches or out of jails and lynching them and stuff like that, and talk about you doing God's work and you burning crosses and you castrating men and you're breaking up families, selling kids off and all that other kind of stuff. And you talk about that you are naturally assigned a higher position over the inferiors of the world and stuff like that. That's where the problem comes at right there. That's the issue right there. Let me go ahead and get to Great Heights. Great Heights, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I had seen this video a while back. This brother, I forgot the name of the book, but I need to go back in that video and try to get the name of that book so when I tell people about this story, they can understand. Maybe they go get that book and read it also too. But I read the Bible like very extensively, like most people have. And also from that book, this brother was explaining, and I never thought about it until this year. It took me really to like this year to really just go ahead and look at the Bible for what it is that they used it to justify slavery. And like, if you just think about this concept right here, what they do to people is that they first would go and place you in bondage. So we got this story that this group of people in bondage in Egypt, right? So you got this bondage story. Now all of a sudden you've been afflicted, right? Then the next thing what they do in your bondage, they bring the law. That's just like when our brother was saying earlier about the imagery, about how they worship landlords and just basically the government. So if you like this, something I noticed, I pay attention to white people, is that they legally, if something gives them the right, you might well go and hang it up. And that's what I believe right now, that if we don't keep getting knowledge as a group of people, they're going to go back to that time frame where they're going to write things into the law that was just like Jim Crow. All that stuff were laws mixed with Christianity. They version of what they say Christianity is, right? Then that's what they do. They put you in bondage, and then they put the law on top of it, and it takes for us to wake up with more and more and more knowledge. Because even I look at my life, like how I got to where I'm at right now, is because I had to start literally waking up and like learning this system. If I never would have done that, I'm quite sure I would have been still in the place to where I was at. So I just land with this right here, is that they place a group of people in bondage first. And then they, basically they bring the Bible. You believe in this. You believe, oh, save me, let me get out of bondage. And then they make your bondage legal. I land with that.
All right, appreciate that. Thank you, Miss Cleopatra. I see you up here. Did you want to speak, or are you good? Miss Cleopatra, are you there? Okay, she's up here, but she may not be in the.
I wanted to speak, but I'm sure you can hear all my background noise. I'm gonna wait 1 second.
Okay. Well, whenever you want to speak, just go ahead and raise your hand. Then, original. What's going on tonight, original?
Oh man, dealing with insomnia, but we're coming into this space, and the topic is white Christianity killing Black America? And the answer is yes. And in some cases, they Black Americans, due to the fear that has been invoked within them through this religion, they are voluntarily killing themselves. You are taught not to question anything regarding this book called the Bible. You are taught to revere white people. And then somebody brought up paganism. You know, paganism is identified as a person holding a religious belief other than those of the main or recognized religions. But yet those main or recognized religions, they pull stuff from paganism. So to me, if you want to study something, it would be what they would call pagan, what they would identify as pagan. And, you know, because you have this stuff, they tell us that Jesus is real. You know, I've done some research showing that the word God can only be traced back to the 6th century AD. The word Lord comes out of I think it's the 13th century. And so, but they tell us what in 1 John? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. The Word was God, and the Word was with God. Now, that can't be true, since that word can only be traced back to the 6th century AD. There's something wrong. And these they made, this is part of their war strategy against us, primarily. That they need us to believe in them. They need us to worship them. And anybody that goes outside those boundaries, what do they call? Are you crazy? You know, that's just what these people do. They tell you, and like you said, Newstoter, they claim to be these Christians. They claim to practice the word of this God that they say they believe in. But the only thing they brought around the world is death and destruction. You know, I mean, and people don't, and for whatever, I think a lot of it is fear. A lot of black folks don't want to have this conversation, but this is a conversation that must be had. If your religion is teaching you to forgive the people that's been brutalizing, raping, and killing you, then there's something wrong. There is something wrong with that religion. I don't care what it is. It can be Christianity, Islam, whatever. There's something wrong with that religion. But when you look at it, all these people in these religions, they all hate black folks. They all hate black folks. They got a problem with black folks. So there's something wrong with these people where they created this stuff and they needed to get. And if you look around the world at some black people, and you look at how they adhere to this stuff, and they look at people like me as if I am, you know, I've just gone completely crazy. And let me show you how sick some of these people are with this Christianity. Back in the 90s, Pastor Fred Price of the Crenshaw Christian Center, he did a year's sermon on race and religion. And would you believe that there was black preachers attacking him, saying that this is not the time or the place for this conversation? You know, he was removed. He was on quite a number of TV stations across the country. He was removed from that because of the topic that he was discussing. See, they don't want to have that conversation because they know they are the ones who are wrong. It's not us. We didn't do anything wrong. They did something wrong. And what was worse about Pastor Price, Pastor Price, he would invite Dr. Claude Anderson to his church to speak, and he supported Dr. Claude Anderson. But what happened with this guy named Carlton Pearson? Carlton Pearson, go ahead. Yeah, he was working with Pastor Price, and he wrote a letter telling Pastor Fred Price that he was wrong, that, you know, again, this wasn't the time or the place for this. We need to handle this in another way. And thankful to Pastor Fred Price, he read that letter on TV. And so I called Carlton Pearson on a radio station here in Atlanta, and I asked him, why did he turn against Pastor Fred Price the way he did? He said, well, that letter was supposed to have been private. No, because what you was doing to him wasn't private. You see, and people just do not want to have this conversation. These white Christians, I don't know what they are. These people, they're not human. They don't have there is no way that their ancestors could have done what they did to our ancestors and what they continue to do to us. There is no way that these people can be human. They do not have a soul. So yes, this religion, and this is why people don't want to really have an in-depth discussion on this, because they don't want to answer those questions. And I think I mentioned this before. It was a movie called Color of the Cross. A brother had made a movie about Mary and Jesus, but he made them black. And it was this guy, Charles Blake, out there at West Angeles Church of God in Christ at Crenshaw and Expedition. He approached him about showing the movie there. He said, "Oh no, I can't do that. I'd have to tell my members the truth." So you got people who are afraid, like this guy, what's his name? Oh, I just called the name. I can't even call it that.
You talking Carlton Pierce?
No, Charles Blake at West Angeles Church of God in Christ. Charles Blake. I mean, and so you got these people, they're like the gatekeepers, and they are keeping our people in bondage through fear that if you turn away from this Jesus, you're going to hell. You don't pay your tithes and offering, you're going to hell. So this is like a management system. It's a management system of fear and intimidation. And when they see black people turning against it, you see the volume is turned up about how they are evil, they're doing the devil's work, all this, that, and whatever. And this is insane. So yes, is Christianity killing us? Yes, it is. And in some cases, people are volunteering to be killed. And I'll land on that.
All right. Thank you. Original. And shout out to Avenge the Ancestors as well, too, for the contribution on Cash App. Okay, let me see.
Can I speak?
Yeah.
1 2 just making sure.
Oh, my bad. My bad. I had my mic muted. I was speaking, so my bad. Let me give a shout out to Avenge the Ancestors for the contribution on Cash App. Miss Cleopatra, I see you want to speak, so go ahead. You got it.
Oh, I wanted to kind of jump in and say, is white Christian killing Black Americans? That's really a kind of a touchy situation. I like what you had said earlier about the lack of alliance. But once again, when it comes to the NAACP and the Urban League, it is their responsibility and those organizations to build alliances to educate these pastors, Joel Osteen, on what is going on. If you look at the civil rights history, back in the day, you could go to the library and you could get the tapes, Eye on the Prize. Martin Luther King engaged lots of people. He reached out to them. He talked to them. That's what he did. Now, I'm telling you, I put it out there on Twitter. A lot of ADOS, FBA, whatever you want to call yourself, you're doing a lot of heavy lifting. And some of you are starting to become frustrated by it. Perhaps maybe you need to take a break, get off of Twitter for a while, because some of this is not my job. This is the job of the NAACP and the Urban League. And obviously, people have been putting out information how they need to be dissolved, and there's change in the air. It's just a lot of change in the air. It's not my job to reach out to the president. There's noise.
Okay, you was good. You could have kept speaking, Miss Cleopatra. But if you're done,
it's noise. 1 second. Train.
Okay, no problem. So hopefully, Miss Cleopatra, she'll get a chance to come up here and finish what she was saying as well too. I heard her say something about reaching out to Joel Osteen and some of these people as well too. Yeah, I guess you can reach out to them, but I know a lot of times people say that, a lot of white folks don't know what's going on. I don't particularly agree with that. I think most of these people know exactly what's going on. I mean, they have access. We're in the information age. A lot of them know American history. Not only that, but people, let's be for real, when they were family members, they've heard all kind of stories over the years as well too, of everything that's gone down in this country. So the vast majority of these people, they know. I mean, they know exactly what's going on, and you can see. I mean, all you gotta do is look at some of these old clippings and some of these old videos and photos and stuff like that. A lot of times when you had lynchings and things like that, you had people out there with crosses burning. You had people out there with flags. Yeah, I mean, so they know. I'm gonna go ahead and let you finish, Miss Cleopatra. You got it.
But the thing of it is that all the freedoms and the rights that we have in this country is because of white Americans and the advocacy of our ancestors. Margaret Mitchell secretly sent money to Morehouse. Tony Curtis, Jamie Curtis' dad participated in the civil rights movement. The list goes on and on and on. Einstein went to Lincoln College to teach us math. It goes on and on. The abolitioners, they were white Americans. I mean, you know, so I believe that for me, if you want to hold on to the ADOS Foundation, I don't have a problem with that. I would like to see the NAACP and the Urban League be lineage-based. They represent my community, and they have outreach to other communities. One of the things that I like about the California thing that they're doing, they have tons and tons of groups behind them that agree that they should have reparations, and I was just so impressed with that, you know. And like I said, I grew up, you know, NAACP, came to my dad's funeral, gave him a big proclamation. I still have his stuff. You know, someone's got to be the leader, and that's just the way that it is. And I could be stuck on John Maxwell because John Maxwell talks about leadership. I would love to see perhaps, I don't know, Kamala Moore, president of the NAACP and the Urban League. I do believe change is in the air, and that has been our voice. And another thing I noticed about some people want to give all the power away. You know, bump the NAACP, bump the Urban League, bump the black colleges, bump the black colleges. Don't do this, don't do that. Well, who's going to be the voice? And I will land with this. One thing my mother taught me, and she said it often to me, she said, Miss Bells, don't ever make a fool out of a man because he will take your life, and I won't be there to help you. We're being made a fool out of. Because if we wasn't being made a fool out of, all of this would not be happening. So there's some type of change that is going to be going on. We wouldn't be having this discussion. We would not be having these discussions. And you can go through my timeline today, and I let the NAACP, the Urban League, and their legal department know what we're seeing is because of your inaction. That's what we're seeing. And they have ear of the president. If I go to D.C. And try to talk to the president is not going to listen to me. Okay, when I was a kid, my dad took us we caught the bus to Philadelphia. My dad wanted us to see the White House. He wanted us to see some monuments in D.C. He came and picked us up from Philadelphia. We saw those things. I can't go to the White House and have a conversation with the president. And I would caution anyone, whether you're doing this type of business or not, don't make a fool out of people. You do not do that. So I land my plane right there. So, you know, religion is, you know, you can participate in and not. But with all of these other groups of people, churches, these mega churches, I'm going to say that there should be some type of reaching out, outreach to them, and that has to be done by the leader in the community, and they're not doing that. And Derek Johnson, Mark Barrion, their time is up. Their time is up. And I also hope and pray that people in those organizations is looking around and see what's going on. Because I don't know if you know who Don is. They try to get funky with Don out there in North Carolina, the NAACP. And some of the members try to say she was acting a fool. But then the president of the NAACP said, she did nothing wrong. She did nothing wrong. You know, and even the Urban League out in LA, you know, Mark Marion didn't do anything. He was out there saying, I support whatever, you know, is going on with the ADOS. And he was in communication with Antonio Moore about something Antonio Moore was complaining about. The NAACP wanted to meet with Dr. Darity on stuff, whatever. You know, yeah. And I don't want to give up the stuff that was created for us. I do not. And anyone who wants to come and take it, may the right hand of God smite you and smite your children's children, that you will regret the day that you ever crossed my community. I land my plane.
All righty. You said a bunch there, Miss Cleopatra. Some of it I can kind of agree with, and some of them I don't know. I have to see something out of NAACP. You know, I don't know. I have to see them actually advocating for Black people, and if I saw it from them, you know, I wouldn't have an issue supporting it. But just in my lifetime, I haven't. I don't know. I kind of have an issue with that. And like I say, some of the stuff you said I can agree with. And I definitely respect your point of view. And you know, some of the stuff I'm a little bit probably a little bit left to it. So but thank you for coming up and speaking as well to Miss Cleopatra. Very interesting point of view there, to say the least. And thank you for everything that you do as well too. Original. I see Mikhail. Mikhail, did you want to speak? I know you overseas. Did you want to speak? Are you good? See if we can get Mikhail. I know he's in Africa.
Greetings, brother, and greetings to brother DJ. Thank you, brother. I can actually wait until our brother Original speak.
Okay, I want to.
The opportunity.
No problem. I wanted to get you in because I know I didn't know like maybe the issues with the connection over there, but we'll get to you though. Original, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, I just kind of want to respond to some of what Ms. Cleo said when she talked about the NAACP and the Urban League. Those groups, those are not Black organizations. Those organizations were not designed to progress Black people forward. Those organizations, in my opinion, they are perception management spy organizations designed to impede the procreation and the progression of Black people. And the NAACP, see, Dr. King used to be a member of the NAACP. And I had talked to someone who knew Dr. King personally. And Dr. King left the NAACP because they kept trying to slow him down. They said, well, we're moving too fast. It's not the time for that. See, you can't say, and they still, they call themselves the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Well, who the hell are these colored people? You know, and what are they trying to advance? I remember back in, I think it was in the 80s, where they had, they were saying that teenage pregnancy was just off the chain, and they had these young black teenage girls, put this thing called Norplant in their arm that was secreting a substance that would prevent them from getting pregnant. I mean, these people are diabolical. They have never been our friend. Du Bois, when he wrote the book, The Souls of Black Folks, and when he wrote the book, he talked about people in the South that was taking advantage of the situation in the South. He identified them as Jews. So it was Joel and Arthur Spingard, who they get this Spingard Award every year at the NAACP. they eventually got him to remove the word Jew and replaced it with immigrant. So people who did not have that, I forget which year, but Barnes and Noble reprinted the original printing of that book, and it had the word Jew in there. So we must look at these organizations that say they represent our interests, but look at the conditions that we're in. They're not representing our interests. Anytime they fight for something for us, they want to include everybody. Everybody don't have the same pain and suffering that we have. And so these organizations cannot be relied upon for us to progress ourselves forward. And yes, we must question them. These are not our leaders. And a lot of these black folks in the higher echelon of the NAACP and the Urban League, they are preachers themselves. But look at how they conduct themselves. They're not doing things from a just point. They are doing what they are instructed to do. And they are instructed to not get out there and fight for black people. I'm gonna put this article in the Purple Pill, and it shows how when Dr. King, when he went to Chicago, and how these people I'm putting it in there now. These people in the NAACP in Chicago, they had this vehement hate for Dr. King. And that came from those white people who founded it. See, the NAACP were founded by white folk. Du Bois was there. Ida B. Wells was there. She only wanted to advocate for black folks. They kicked her out, put this white woman name, I think her name was Mary White Overton or something like that, and put her in there. The NAACP has never been an organization that strive for the freedom of black folks. Now, they did use perception management, and they did a few things for us to give the perception that they were on our side. But the NAACP has never been on the side of black folks. Never. They just used us to project things away from the other people, this certain group of religious people. That's what they did, because they're the ones that's running it. So I think we have to look at this thing very carefully and understand. See, that's why Dr. King started the SCLC, because of all the hell he was catching from the white people that was backing and running the NAACP. That's where that came from. So we cannot rely on them. If we're going to get reparations, it's going to have to come through us. We can't depend on these leaders. Look at Al Sharpton. He was recording people, and he was inside of an office agreeing to take a $3,500 kickback to allow drugs to be sold in the black community. No, this has to come from us. They might be able to kind of help or whatever, but this has to come from us. We cannot rely on them to do anything of this significance for us, because if we do, they're going to sabotage it. And they know that people like me know that they will sabotage it. And so we're not going to allow them to do that. And that's another part of Christianity, is killing the black community in our land.
All right. Thank you, Original. Thank you. Mikhail, you ready to speak now, or you want to wait still? We ain't going to keep the space.
I think I'm good, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. Is white Christianity killing black Americans? Yeah, brother, I actually just jumped in, heard a little bit. Could you just sort of recap?
Okay, just talking about the historical impact of Christianity in the country, and Christianity, the impact worldwide, in terms of the especially white Christianity and white nationalism going hand in hand. We're talking about slavery, we're talking about Jim Crow, we're talking about all the lynchings and the killings and everything else, and we're talking about the way that they've stood in the way of progression, and also have also and tied pureness and whiteness to divinity as well too. So just pretty much just the history of white supremacy in this country, and how it's been connected with the white Christian faith as well too. That's pretty much just what we've been hitting on.
Are we expecting anything from so-called white Christians?
No. We just we're not expecting anything, but we're talking about and you have a number of people. They see that you have a growing a white nationalism and you have a connection with the white Christianity, and it seems to be growing and growing even more so in the country. But no, I don't expect anything different from myself.
Okay. So human nature never changes. Culture evolved, society so-called evolved. But the nature of people who are anti-light doesn't deviate. The people who we still categorize as white Christians and the things that they're doing is not anything different from what their ancestors did thousands of years ago. And they're new to this realm or what's counter to it or them or neutralized was enlightened. We were, anytime we led or ruled the planet, we were considered enlightened people. There were enlightened movements. There were world building, nation building plans to develop enlightenment wherever we went. And as a result of their proximity to us, whether it was through them conquering, stealing, being mentored, it was as a result of our enlightenment and how we dealt with them and neutralized them for a period of time. Whatever we fell out of or disconnected from the source which provides enlightenment, we fell. So-called founding fathers, they considered themselves enlightened. They led a movement based on enlightenment, which they learned from us, from the indigenous melanin people who are already there on the continent of North America. And they meshed or mixed the enlightenment that they stole from Kevin Kush and Napoleon. We had this so-called European enlightenment movement that these people considered themselves to be part of this so-called lunar society, which was based on enlightenment to create this thing we call America. It just didn't come out of the blue. Napoleon wanted to be so-called Alexander the Greek, and he spent a lot of time in Egypt. The Europeans caught something called Egyptomania, which led to the so-called Victorian Age. And they found their way to the shores of America and met people who were enlightened. We weren't hunter-gatherers or red Mongolians walking around scratching our heads or our heads wondering what we were. We were enlightened this and why. Whenever we organize around enlightenment, not Christianity, not Islam, not Judaism. We organize around source knowledge, source wisdom, source morality, source science, source mathematics, source astronomy, source oceanography, source biology. We like, this is why we are the cultural superpower of the world. I had experience with so-called legacy organizations, the NAACPs and everyone, and I know personally that their leaders are weak, and they're not that smart, and they're not forward-thinking, and we are in the power position, and what got us to this point that we're now, moving into 2025, were strategies based on enlightenment. You understand? That trumped, no pun intended, anything they could have imagined. And we neutralized them based on enlightenment, not based on Christianity, not based on Democrat, Republican. It was an enlightenment movement that brought us to the stage in which we're entering into this new paradigm shift. We shifted the paradigm with the knowledge, strategy, and tactics of enlightenment, and this is what we have to continue on. We have to stay on the path of enlightenment. Even now, when we look at various TikTok videos, et cetera, we see even our kids using the word enlightened. They're not using the word woke, right? They're saying enlightened, and that resonates. That wakes up the ancestors because that's the call to action. Enlightenment, not Christianity, not Buddhism. Enlightenment, even the Elon Musk, the Viveks, and the Mark Andreessens, and those who call themselves techno-libertarians and libertarians, they operate based on a code of enlightenment. And when we say get on code, we're talking about enlightenment. That's the code, enlightenment. You see? So, are you light or are you anti-light? That's what we're looking for. And I'll land with that, and hopefully I was able to contribute to the conversation.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Mikhail. Let me go ahead and get to Miss Cleopatra. We're not gonna keep this thing. I'll probably let you be the last speaker, Miss Cleopatra, and we're gonna go ahead and shut it down for the night. So go ahead, you got it.
I just wanted to respond. I would always acknowledge that the NAACP isn't imperfect, but I would also say the same thing about Yvette Carnell and her craziness of locking people. I know Antonio Morris said him and his friends said some crazy things about dating, and I respond to that. He wanted to block me. So, no, nothing will ever be 100% perfect. It's just not. When you look at Mississippi burning, who was burning the crosses? Who was doing what? But the woman still came forward, and she was the white woman, and she gave the information to the FBI, and they had to do what they needed to do, and she still wanted to stay in the town. I would have probably left because I wouldn't want the town members ganging up on me. So we've always had this up and down relationship with white Americans. The freedoms that we have today is because of our ancestors' advocacy and because of them. So if someone wants to give up something, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having critical thinking, but as a writer, when you make statements, they're all devils, they're all evil, we need to watch our back around everybody, this and that and this, that's just totally crazy to me. Because you do not make statements like everybody, nobody's worth any consideration. We shouldn't look over here. we need all hands on deck. And because we were not socialized, and that's the thing that has hurt us more than, to me, white Christianity, not to be lineage based. That has hurt us tremendously, and that's where a lot of anger from a lot of people are coming from, because we realize we're missing out on opportunity. And by missing out on opportunities, if we don't do something about it, future generations are going to be extremely pissed with us, extremely upset about how we did not take the time to kind of get ahead of this. You know, and the organization that was created for us, I want to land my plane, they can get right back on track. If not, I stand firm. You do not make a fool out of people. My mother said it over and over again, you will lose your life. Because if everything was good, we wouldn't be on this app right now. We wouldn't be on it. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Miss Cleopatra, as well, too. We'll like I said, I don't know. I have to see something that the NAACP is going to do outside of just when cameras are around, and something for the working class Black people as well too. I don't know. I've had family members that tried to become members of the NAACP. People that tried to get their attention when certain things happen, and unless it's just something, a major thing, and it's going to get media coverage, they really didn't come around much. So I would have to, I have to see. I think we're at a point in time now that we need to create our own organizations that need to be created from the bottom on up, all the way, with Black people totally controlling it, not anybody else, not any other group, not any other ethnic group, not any other race, culture, anything like that. Black people, in particular, Black Americans, need to create. There's nothing saying that we can't create something comparable to the NAACP nowadays. So I respect your opinion. Don't get me wrong. I respect your opinion, but I just think, I don't know. I personally believe that's come and gone, but to each is his own. I mean, some people may find, something worthwhile with them. I don't know. I'd have to, I think we need our own organization. Some of these organizations, were created almost kind of to keep tabs on Black people as well too. And I don't know. I like to create our own, our own organization that we head up and that we are completely control, and that we can go ahead and we can verify people. And if you're not doing anything for the community, we can get you up out of there. And you can also train other like-minded young people to go out there and do the work as well too. So we'll see. I don't have a whole lot of faith in some of these older establishments that were created, but who knows? Original, I guess I go ahead and let you get it in one last time, and then we go ahead and close it out for the night.
How you gonna say this, Newstoter? People that I encountered years ago who had joined the NAACP. Now they would put out a message that if you want to make changes, you need to be on the inside to make the changes. And these people that joined and they were relatively young. These people that joined the NAACP, they left because the people who run the NAACP and finance it did not want their voices heard. And so you can't. I'm with you, Newstoter. The NAACP has been in existence over 100 years. Why are we in the position that we're in if they're actually fighting for our freedom? Why are we in this position? This doesn't make any sense. And so, and like I said, those people that joined, they ended up leaving. They said, look, they don't have time for this. They had better things to do with their time than to be involved in an organization that only want to stifle the procreation of Black Americans. And I'll land on that.
Like I'm in the Matrix, guys. I'm trying to the space done froze up on me, so I'm trying to.
I don't know if I see your mic is still muted. There is I have to find. I'm gonna have to find this, and I'll have to reference it to you. It's a thesis did several years ago, In Search of Purity. And it talked about how, I think it was Urban League, even Du Bois, I think Booker Washington too. They were all involved in the eugenics movement with Margaret Sanger. They believed what these white folks told them about us being these just these wretched people and this, that, and whatever. No, this is something that if we want this, we're gonna have to fight for it and deliver it ourselves. We cannot depend on these groups. We cannot depend on these so-called leaders. Because
I'm back, original. I was in the Matrix. I was trying to come in. When you had stopped, I was trying to come back in, but I couldn't come in. I heard you say you got your mic muted still, but yeah, I couldn't. I don't know this thing. Like I say, a couple of times I've been in the Matrix, a night up in the space. But go ahead, original. Finish your point, and then we'll go ahead and close it out.
But yeah, these people, they're not fighting for us. They're fighting against us. When Minister Farrakhan came out with that book, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, the Jewish community came out with this book called Bridges and Boundaries, trying to show that how they have been working with us. And no, you've been working against us. They use perception management to make us think they are our friend, and they are not. And I'm gonna because I know you got to get going. You got to get up in the morning like me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But this was a good space tonight, guys. We will be back tomorrow night. DJ, I don't know if you got anything going on tonight or not, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna close this one out. Professor, shout out to you as well too. I know, Professor, you ain't said nothing in a minute. You just chilling in the background. So shout out to you guys. Tomorrow night we will be back with another space, guys. So check us out tomorrow night, because my mic I keep getting up in the Matrix in here. So let me go ahead and close this thing out, and then we'll see y'all tomorrow. So peace.